Who wins tonight?
The Toronto Raptors win tonight.
Not making any friends out here today.
And I do believe the Warriors are good enough to extend this series 6 games. I do believe the Warriors are good enough to extend this series 6 games. Look, if you had KD available, you win the series. Obviously, duh, you're the best team by far if you're healthy. But you ain't have KD. You don't have, by the way, if you have KD game 4, I'd be surprised. If you have KD at all in this playoffs, I would be surprised. You heard Tim Hardaway sitting here yesterday saying that's a tear. He thinks the calf has torn. People have also been saying that. You're hearing that sort of thing. At first, it looked like an Achilles. You take a torn calf over an Achilles, at least you come back after a couple months as the same person. But if KD plays at all in this series, that's gravy. I do not think you can count on that. Now it comes down to who else you got. You got Klay?
I don't know.
I wouldn't bet on it. Would you play Klay in Game 3?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. I don't think the Warriors will, because you want a healthy Klay going forward. It gives you your best shot. Kevin Looney's not going to play.
Right.
You already know you're down. Now, let's look at when you had Klay, the first 2 games of the series, where Kawhi did not really have time to rest. The Warriors were off longer than the Raptors. Kawhi manned up and played real well, but his shot wasn't falling. His legs weren't there. Now Kawhi's had a little extra time to rest because you have those travel days. Now, all of a sudden, you have to look at the first 2 games. When you were crewed up, minus KD, Toronto outplayed you guys in Game 1 and won. They outplayed you in Game 2, but they lost. Why did they lose? Because of some new thing that the Warriors did? Transition defense was better. But basically, the Raptors were missing wide-open shots. They missed a lot of wide-open shots. If you look at who outplayed who, it was the Raptors. So now you're telling me you think the bounce you get by playing at home is going to counteract being outplayed the first 2 games, a more rested Kawhi, and you're not going to have Klay Thompson? No. Raptors going to win Game 3.
Well, first of all, I don't want to hear that opinion from you. And the reason why I don't want to hear that opinion from you is because you're leaning on the health of the Golden State Warriors when, in fact, outside of KD, health wasn't an issue with the Golden State Warriors, and you had already picked them to lose this series. So let's not lean on their health right now as an excuse as to why they're going to lose tonight's game. That's number one. Number one. Number two, and more importantly, I'm going with the Warriors to win it. I'm going with the Warriors. You know, I'm not going to engage in too many cliches about the heart of a champion or whatever. And me personally, Max is right. I would not play Klay Thompson. I've said this yesterday. I would not play Klay Thompson because I don't want to jeopardize him for the rest of the series. But I got news for you. Andre Iguodala, I expect to play. Boogie Cousins, I expect to play. Steph Curry, I expect to play. Draymond Green, I expect to play. I don't give a damn if you bring up somebody like Quinn Cook. If Fred VanVleet could come off the bench and produce, how come Quinn Cook can't do it? I'm going to be a believer in this. I'm going to be a believer. I'm going to be a believer in the Oracle. I'm going to be a believer in that proverbial 6th or 12th man, whatever you want to call it, all right? I'm going to be a believer in the fact that the Golden State Warriors, the reigning, the defending, 2-time NBA champions in their house, going up against the Toronto Raptors squad that, by the way, it's not like they waited until the finals, Game 2, to miss shots. I saw them missing shots against Philly. I saw them missing shots against Milwaukee. Now, they ultimately won those series. I get that. But none of us are going to confuse Philadelphia and Milwaukee with being the Golden State Warriors, particularly when it comes to shot-making ability. Am I worried? Yes. Am I concerned? Is there an elevated level of concern? Sure. But to disregard the Golden State Warriors on their home court in their last trip to the Oracle, this is it. This is it. Game 3, Game 4, if necessary, a Game 6, this is the last time the Golden State Warriors are going to be playing in that building. I think that's a lot to ask the Toronto Raptors to overcome. I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm simply saying I want to see it before I believe it.
Number one, Stephen A. Smith being slick. You thought that would get by me, but it's not. You say you don't want to hear about health from me because I picked the Raptors to win the series. I sure did, but I may have taken the Warriors to win their first home game. What we're talking about here is not the whole series. We're talking about Game 3. So you must bring up the health of Klay Thompson. That's number one. Number two, I like your Boogie Cousins point. Boogie Cousins is a fantastic player, and he showed you what he can do with his high IQ, passing ability, not to mention shot-making ability and shot from distance for a big. However, The man is coming off catastrophic injury, followed by another injury. He has not really played consistently big minutes throughout the season, nor has he been able to string, back-to-back great performances, certainly not in the playoffs. I'm not saying Boogie Cousins can't do it. I'm saying if you're weighing the odds, that is a lot to ask of Boogie Cousins. Hey, be the best player on the floor 2 consecutive games in the finals after not playing a lot this season, coming off an injury, coming off another injury. That is a lot to ask Boogie Cousins. I don't take that to the bank.
You know what I would say to that in response? It's a lot to ask somebody on the Toronto Raptors outside of Kawhi Leonard to step up on the road in the NBA Finals. Yeah.
Kyle Lowry addressed that. Kyle Lowry's taken it upon himself, said he always plays better on the road. You're right. Someone's got to step up. Kyle Lowry's the guy who's got to do it.
Let me ask you this, Stephen A. So even with all the injuries, the Warriors still have 4 All-Stars, as you just mentioned, plus the home crowd. But who do you think's going to be the hero of Game 3? Because someone always steals the show.
I'm going to go with Draymond Green. I don't think anybody with sense would question the heart of Draymond Green. And I think when you see KD and Klay out and you watched Draymond in the postseason, particularly against the Portland Trailblazers, and you watched him talk about how somebody has to be willing to sacrifice and step back so other people can spring forward and ultimately produce.